everybody, welcome back to my channel. And welcome back to the Revision Diaries, Operation Clone Novel. I literally just finished filming the first video for this series, so now I am ready to actually jump in and get started with revisions. If you missed that first video, I will link it up there in the cards. I highly recommend you watch that video before you watch this one, just so that you know. In that one I basically went over all of the revisions that I'm going to have to be doing and what I did to prepare for this big revision pass. So it's worth watching if you want to be in the loop and know what the fuck's going on, because I am not gonna explain anything this time. I probably will a little bit, but I'm not gonna explain anything. We're just diving into it. So with that said, let's go. Here we are, y'all. Chapter 1, a blank page. So what I can't show you is that on the other screen I have a ton of shit pulled up, but one of those things is the original document. I initially wasn't sure if I was going to rewrite this book blind or not, meaning like without having the original document pulled up, but what I decided to do is I highlighted all of the lines that I definitely know I want to keep, and then anything that's not highlighted is free game. I can rewrite it however I want, and that's kind of the plan. We'll see how that works. So what I'm gonna do before I even start writing is I'm gonna read through this scene one more time to make sure I kind of have it all in my head. I'm going to read over my scene breakdown that I already filled out for this scene, and then I'm gonna start drafting. So drafting a scene for this revision process that I'm planning on doing could take anywhere from, you know, a couple of hours to maybe a couple of days. I just don't know yet, so we'll all find out together, I guess. But yeah, for now, let's read through the scene and get going. Woo! Okay, so what I think I've decided to do is I'm going to copy all of the highlighted portions that I know I want to keep from my original document. I'm going to copy it over to my new document, and I'm going to like leave a few spaces between each highlighted section, and so basically I'm going to use them as destinations, I guess, and I'm basically going to write my way from like one section to another. You know, they're going to be my mile markers, I guess, and I'm gonna try to incorporate them with my new text as well as possible. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna try it. We're gonna see. We're just experimenting right now. We're at the very beginning of this. We're just trying to figure out what works best. But first, I'm gonna go feed my dog lunch because she seems to really want food. Not that she doesn't always want food. She is a perpetually hungry dog, but it is lunchtime. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'm coming right back to this because I really want to get some of this done today. So, okay, I'm back. Let's do this thing. Okay, so my dad actually ended up coming home at lunchtime to do a few things around the house and drop off our dog, I don't want to say his name, S-T-A-R-K. If you've been around this channel for a very long time, then you remember the day in the life vlog where we got him as a puppy. He is now still a puppy, but a ginormous one. If you get lucky, you might see him in this video. We'll see. But yeah, so I wasn't expecting my dad to come home when he did, so that derailed me a little bit, but I did get all of the highlighted portions from the original document copied over to the other document, and I typed them out rather than copy pasting just to make sure if I wanted to reword anything I would do that instead of being complacent with what I already had typed. And I did reword a couple of things, so I'm pretty happy with that. But now it's time to actually do some writing. I'm gonna work for maybe an hour, maybe a little bit more, I don't know yet. I also have to edit a video for the Radium City Gamers YouTube channel. That is the gaming channel that I run with my friends Lexi and Gabby. We stream on Twitch, and then I edit those streams and put them on YouTube, and I have to finish the one that has to go up tomorrow. I'm bad at time management, okay? But anyway, so I'm gonna get back into revising now, and hopefully it goes well, and I'll update you once my writing session is over.
1 hour later.
Okay guys, so I'm not gonna lie to you, this is not going well at all. Like at all. I think the big thing that's tripping me up right now is that I got a bit of revision advice from the mentors to make a change to a bit of world building that would then strengthen the connection or relationship between Mickey and Nadia. Basically changing something about the world building that would then make Mickey feel like pretty much the whole world is against her and only Nadia and Sai and maybe one or two other characters are on her side. That would strengthen her relationship with not just Nadia but really all of those characters. And I really liked the advice and I really wanted to implement this, but literally, I am maybe 5 sentences into this rewrite, this revision, and trying to change that. It seems like such a tiny thing to change, but I was really happy with and excited with this first scene. I think it's a very strong scene overall. There are still a couple of imagery things that I'd like to add to it, but for the most part, it's a pretty strong scene, and so I think trying to rewrite it like I am, I don't know if I'm getting in my own head or if it's just, I don't know what the problem is, and I'm getting very frustrated about it, honestly. I had a really strong vision for rewriting this scene that I just truly thought was going to strengthen it, but I can't get past like this first paragraph, and it's very frustrating and disheartening. And I don't know, maybe my dad coming home just threw me out of my groove, and maybe I just need to move on, stop trying to force it, work on video editing or something, or maybe even get something to eat because I'm pretty hungry. Just do something else for a while and then see if the mood strikes me later to try and pick this up and work on it again. I don't know. I really wanted to start out strong for this video, but you know, it is what it is. I can't force something to work that's not working. Maybe if I sit on it, maybe even if I go and take a shower, I get my best ideas in the shower, so maybe I can problem solve how to make this work. Plus, it doesn't help that Stark is whining because he's in his kennel right now, because I had to put him in his kennel because he can't be left out when I can't have my full attention on him, because like I said, he's still a puppy. He's over a year old, but he gets into things a lot. So, and I don't want to leave him in the kennel for too long anyway. It's already been about an hour, so I don't know. I don't know, man. I am pretty positive, though, that I'm gonna call it quits for right now because it's worse to sit here and suffer and make this not an enjoyable process than to give myself a little bit of space and time to work this out in my own head so that I can come back with fresh eyes and a better attitude. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. So with that said, either I will see you later tonight or tomorrow or whenever. I don't know. We'll see. This sucks, but you know, it is what it is.
Starka-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, Starka-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, Starka-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, Starka-doo. Gracie Lou, 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 Gracie Lou, 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 Gracie Lou, 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 Gracie Lou. Snitchy boo 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 boo, snitchy boo 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 boo, snitchy boo 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 boo, snitchy boo.
Hey there, friends. So it is a couple days later, and I'm here with good news. I really was just having a rough day the last time you saw me, and I think really what it was that I just got a little bit too in my own head. Pretty much what happened is I psyched myself out. I was all worried about the voice, you know. I was afraid that because I dropped the voice halfway through the story in my original manuscript, that maybe I lost the voice completely forever, and starting over I was gonna make the book worse by just getting rid of the character's voice completely. And then I was also worried about just the fact that I know the mentors are gonna be reading my revised manuscript. I don't know, just for some reason I was like, I have to impress them by writing the best book in the world, and I was just putting a lot on my own shoulders. And I was especially struggling because I don't remember if I talked about this in my last update. I apologize if I did and I'm just repeating myself. But one edit that I'm trying to do has to do with world building. Specifically, I'm making a change to some people's belief system surrounding the cloning that goes on in this world. It's a suggestion that I got from one of the mentors that I thought was a really good idea to strengthen Mickey's relationship with Nadia. But the problem is that this bit of world building is kind of the crux of the very first paragraph of the frickin' story. And I mean, I worked very hard on crafting and perfecting this first paragraph, you know, ever since I wrote it the very first time. You know, I've polished it up. It's probably the most polished paragraph in this entire freaking novel. So other than my concerns about character voice and just generally worrying about the mentors reading my book, changing up this paragraph really had me freaked out. I knew it was the right decision because I really did like this suggestion from the mentor to change this bit of world building, but I just didn't know how to go about it. And so the last time I updated you, I had been experimenting a little bit, but also I was afraid to change anything up because Mickey's voice is so strong in that first paragraph, and I was, again, afraid to lose it, and I was just afraid to touch it too much, and that was my downfall, I think. I was trying way too hard to preserve what I had instead of taking a chance, trying something new, and hoping that it would work out. And so that's why I ended my last update on such a sour note, why I was in such a rotten mood, such a depressed mood, honestly. I was very upset with myself about how that writing session had gone, and that's why. But after I turned the camera off, I went and I took a shower, and that kind of cleared my head. I actually got an idea for a way I could rephrase that first paragraph, so I jotted it down on my phone, and then a little bit later that night, I took what I had put in my phone and I wrote it out, and that's actually not what I ended up with. I have a really great first paragraph now that I wrote the next day, but it did open the doors for me. It was my first step towards accepting that I couldn't preserve that original first paragraph, that I needed to do something different. And so I wrote it down, and then I put it aside and I slept on it, and the next morning I woke up, and I actually didn't go straight to drafting because I was kind of still dreading it a little bit. So I did some video editing initially instead, and then I decided, okay, let's just try it. I was fully prepared to just sit there for another 2 hours staring at the document, frustrated and not being able to get anything down. But instead, I don't know where it came from. It's not, I don't know if my brain had just been working on it while I slept and I didn't know it, but I sat down, I opened up the document, I read over what I had a couple of times, and then I just had this aha moment. I don't know, I got a really good first paragraph down all of a sudden. I had to fiddle with it a little bit, you know, it wasn't perfect, just me jotting it down the first time, but I'm really happy with it. And you know what? I'm actually gonna share just a tiny snippet of this first paragraph with you because I'm really excited about it. Now, I should admit that there's actually some dialogue that comes in before this first paragraph, and I'm just not counting it as, I'm not counting the dialogue as the first paragraphs or whatever, because it's not, you know, it's just back and forth, which I think it's a strong opening for this specific book. But like the story, the meat of the story doesn't start until this first paragraph. So there's this dialogue, which I'm not going to read to you because that is a little bit of spoilers. But then the first paragraph, it starts with, if anybody had asked me how I thought I'd be spending my Monday night, my answer definitely wouldn't have been trying to explain to a therapist that I'm not the one in my family who needs to be psychoanalyzed. And yet here I am, in a basement office that smells like cat piss, sitting in an uncomfortable armchair that looks like it belongs in a grandma's house. The chair's rough floral upholstery scrapes against my exposed skin as I slouch back, crossing my arms. And I don't know, I mean, maybe you guys hear me read that aloud to you and you're like, that's not so great. But to me, I'm just so happy with it, and I might still fiddle with it a little bit more. I don't know, anything's possible. But for right now, where I sit right now, I'm feeling pretty damn good about that paragraph. And it's almost completely different from that initial first paragraph. Like, the only thing that stayed the same between the two is the line that I'm not the one in my family who needs to be psychoanalyzed. And the line about the armchair that looks like it belongs in a grandma's house, that's actually one of my highlighted lines from later in the book, you know, that I said I was going to be using those lines as kind of like destination points, a roadmap sort of. I just decided to kick it up here to this first paragraph, and it worked really well. And it's funny because this was kind of what I'd been wanting to do with this rewrite since the beginning, was just to completely forgo what was in the initial manuscript and just write blind, and then I decided not to do that, there were certain lines that I wanted to keep. And that first paragraph was one that had a lot of bits that I had wanted to keep, and it was only through deciding to kill my darlings that I came up with an even better first paragraph than what I originally had. So yeah, this revision process hasn't been what I anticipated. It's definitely been a learning process, because even though I did decide to just write pretty much blind for that first paragraph, I actually have been referencing the original manuscript more than I thought I was going to also. So yeah, it's just everything that I went into this thinking I was going to do, I've pretty much done the exact opposite. So, but I still feel good about it. Like, I feel good about preserving the parts of the manuscript that I thought I was going to get rid of, because I'm really being harsh with it, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not doing what I usually do, where I just tippity type away, copy over some things. If I stumble upon a line that kind of makes me trip up, I reword it. Like, that's how I usually do my revisions. But in this case, I am going line by line and deciding, do I like this line, and do I like it here, or does it need to be somewhere else, or can I cut it entirely? Can I rephrase this line, or is there a way that I can condense these few lines to just make them more streamlined? And I feel like my manuscript is just turning out very polished, and I'm only like 4 pages in, so anything could happen at this point. But right now, I'm feeling very happy with it. And in good news, I mean, this is all pretty good news. The fact that it's finally coming together is a big relief. But in other good news, I guess, is that my scene breakdown that I said I was using for each scene, it's really, really helping with the imagery. It's just so nice to have everything laid out that I can describe or that I want to describe. So it's just kind of in the back of my mind the whole time as I'm writing. And so I just feel like I've been able to very naturally incorporate more imagery into my writing, which is exactly what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted this scene breakdown to allow me to do. So it's going great. I'm very, very excited about it. The one thing I will say is that I did catch myself almost doing a little too much imagery in some points, you know, like I kind of got on a roll and I just started like over describing things, and I was like, okay, hold on. This almost reads a little novice-like because like it's almost too much description in one place. So I kind of have had to, you know, a learning curve, but I've decided that I'm willing to take as long as it takes per scene to end up with a really good, polished draft. Like I'm willing to take multiple days to write this one very short scene if that's what it takes. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I think I'm pretty close to done with writing today, so sorry, no B-roll. I didn't want to jinx it, you know, I was on a roll today, so I didn't want to screw it up by filming beforehand or during. But now that I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable with the revision process, a little less pressure, I probably will be doing more B-roll and stuff. So we're gonna try to make this vlog as aesthetic as possible, but also I'm not an aesthetic person, so we'll get what we get at the end of this. But yeah, for now, for today, I'm going to sign off because I have other things to do, but I will see you hopefully tomorrow. Bye! Hello. So, turns out I lied about there being more B-roll and more updates. I have not updated in a couple of days. But it wasn't because I wasn't writing, because I was. I actually finished revising scene 1. Yay! It only took how many days? Huh? But yeah, I was writing. I just was too lazy to get ready, you know? Do my hair, get dressed, do literally anything to make me look like a presentable human, so, you know, I wasn't gonna film myself when I looked like a gremlin, thus here we are. But today, I have therapy, which means I had to get ready, at least from the waist up, so I'm camera ready, and so I decided, now or never. Let's do an update. And actually, I haven't started writing it all today. I figured I could do 2 updates, one before I started writing and one after, because I have a decent amount of things to update you on from the days that I haven't filmed, and then I assume after I dive into revising scene 2, I'm gonna have some things to talk about. So as far as what I have managed to complete in the days that I have not updated you, like I said, I finished revising scene 1. It was a very nerve-wracking experience, which is probably not a word that you would normally think to use when talking about revisions, but my anxiety is still high when it comes to these revisions, even though I'm trying to chill out and not put so much stress on myself. It's not entirely working. I'm still a little stressed. My biggest fear at this point is just making the book worse. I'm so afraid that all of these revisions I'm doing is just going to annihilate my book, and it's such an irrational fear because I have my original draft. You know, if anything goes awry in this new draft, I always have the original, so it's fine, it's safe, but I don't know, I guess it's hard to put into words. Honestly, I guess it all just boils down to a lack of confidence. I was very confident about my book up to the point that I was able to get it by myself. I thought, yes, this is a good book, a good story with good writing. I was pretty confident handing it in when I submitted to Author Mentor Match. I did have a few things, you know, I read over the manuscript one more time before I sent it in, and I was like, you know, there's a couple of things here or there that I could fix, but for the most part, I felt pretty happy with it. But then with the amount of revision notes that I got on it from the mentors, I think that knocked me down a peg, which is not a bad thing, but it did happen. And it's weird because a part of me did know that there were going to be things that I needed a mentor's help on. That's the whole reason why I applied to Author Mentor Match in the first place, is because I knew I had gotten it to the point where I could get it polished, but I needed somebody else's help to push forward. That was I talked about this in my vlogs. Like, I knew that this was an end result that I wanted, was more revision notes, somebody to push me and make me go even further beyond what I was comfortable doing. But at the same time, now that I'm here, I guess it's just like, again, I got knocked down a peg, so my confidence is a little shaky, where I'm like, oh, the book wasn't as good as I thought it was, or wasn't as solid as I thought it was. And then just the types of revisions that the mentors wanted me to work on. I guess that also shook me because it wasn't anything that was even on my radar. I hadn't thought that these were things that needed to be fixed. I guess some of them were, like the voice dropping off halfway through. I kind of knew that was a problem, but some things that they said just, I guess, caught me off guard and again made me question my ability to write. And so with this newly shaken confidence, I guess it's just been hard for me to get into these revisions because these weren't revisions that I was planning on making, and they're revisions I 100% agree with and am excited to make, but at the same time I'm just like, what if I can't do them justice? What if, again, I just make the book worse? What if I try to drive this voice all the way through and instead I lose the voice completely? What if I try to elevate the tension in these places and instead I just write a bunch of shitty scenes that nobody wants to read? It's nerve-wracking, and I know that most of this just has to do with my anxiety, so it's a good thing I have therapy today, but still, that doesn't change the fact that every time I go to revise this book, just my heart is hammering, which is it's never happened before. I've never been nervous to revise. Revising has always kind of been one of my comfort zones, you know? So, I don't know, man. But when I finished my revision on the first scene, I did send it to my friends Lexi and Gabby, and I was like, please tell me if I made this better or worse. Like, do you like this? Is it good? Or did I put too much imagery? You know, I was trying to increase imagery. This was just a personal goal of mine. And then, you know, I had to make a few minor changes that are going to play into larger changes later in the book. And I kind of played with Mickey's voice a little bit, trying to really nail down what her voice is and make it sound a little bit more natural, because as I was reading over my original first chapter, I was like, some of these things are just not, you know, I'd expect Mickey to say them in a little bit of a different way, so I tried to fix those, but I was like, did I make it worse? Did I totally get rid of her voice by doing this? So I sent it to my friends to read, and I was like, please tell me honestly what you think of this. And the good news is their feedback was positive. They said they really liked it. They loved the imagery that I added. They felt that it really filled out the scene, that they were able to see everything clearly. They also said that I didn't ruin Mickey's voice, which is great. They said that they totally still got Mickey, and maybe it was even a little bit more Mickey, which, okay, great. And overall, they just said it was good, and they kind of inadvertently gave me the go-ahead to push forward, that I wasn't going to screw everything up, that I was safe, that I am making good changes, and that I should move forward. So that's what I'm doing today. I mean, I kind of started yesterday in that I filled out the scene breakdown for this second scene, and I read through the original scene from my original manuscript, but I have not started the actual tippity typing on the keyboard yet. That's what I'm doing today. And I'm still nervous, and I think I'm gonna keep being nervous until I get a decent way into this book and I have fully reassured myself that these revisions are good, that they are in fact making it better. But I do feel a little, like a smidgen less anxious about it because of my friends' reassurances, which is nice. At least there's that. Also, I guess I should say that I personally really like the changes that I made to scene 1. I guess that's probably the first thing I should have said, but you know, the anxiety has me all up in my head. But personally, I am very happy with the changes I made in scene 1. I'm happy with the changes I made to Mickey's voice, and I'm happy with how I was able to incorporate the small change that I had to in that scene for the sake of larger changes later on. Like I said, I'm happy with it all, but I think that's what scares me the most, because I guess maybe my confidence in my own judgment was shaken a little bit by getting these revision notes, because of how I thought so many things were fine when really, once it was pointed out to me that they needed work, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. So maybe my confidence in my own judgment was shaken, and that's part of the problem, is that even though I'm feeling happy with my revisions, there's just a small nagging voice in the back of my mind saying, but what if you're wrong? What if you're making it worse and you just don't know, you can't tell? What if you left out a really important bit of information and now that just is going to make the whole book fall apart. You've just created a huge plot hole and you don't even know it. Like, I think that's part of the now that I'm talking about it, now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm thinking that's part of the problem. But again, my friend's reassuring me that I didn't ruin the first scene, that my revisions were good. That does help me feel a little bit more confident. And again, I think I just need to get a little bit further in the book to regain my confidence more. And I feel like I should definitely emphasize that this is no fault of the mentors. I'm forever grateful that they took the time to give me the revision notes, that the one mentor took the time to get on a Zoom call with me and brainstorm for my revisions. Like, this has nothing to do with them, and it's everything to do with me and just my own self-confidence. So, but you know what? If this revision goes super well and this book gets me an agent, this video will be so fun to look back on, because I'll be like, oh wow, look at how terrified I was back then and how far I've come. That's the outcome I'm hoping for here. But with that said, it is 10 o'clock, which is the time that I like to start writing. I do a little video editing in the morning, mostly because if I don't do it in the morning, I won't do it at all. Plus my brain needs some time to wake up before it's actually ready to write, so it's a very good schedule. I'm very happy with my schedule that I have come up with, but now it is writing time and I'm excited about it, so let's go. Okay, so I'm not done writing for the day, but my mom just called me. I just got off the phone with her and we were talking about my book and how I was, again, feeling anxious about it and whatever. And she said something that actually really put it into a good perspective for me that I liked, so I wanted to talk about it really quickly. So something she pointed out is that even though to me it feels like these revisions that the mentor suggested were like huge and like all-consuming because they affect, you know, the entire book, technically the changes are actually pretty minor. The problem is just that, you know, you change one thing in one place and that does have a ripple effect on the rest of the story that makes you have to revise everything else. But like, the revisions themselves are, they're tiny notes. It's not like they wanted me to change my whole book. It's not like the book as a whole was bad. In fact, they said the book as a whole was really good. And I think that's something I lost sight of, that I kind of forgot about, or just, you know how you do, you focus on the bad or the negative and you disregard the good. But like, when you really look at the revision notes that the mentors gave me, I mean, yeah, they aren't that big. They aren't that insane. It's tiny things that just, again, had a ripple effect throughout the rest of the book that made them seem bigger than they were. So that's actually really encouraging for me. I won't say that it has completely alleviated my stress about the situation, but it definitely put it into a different perspective for me, which I think will help in the future for me to feel at least a little less pressure. But yeah, now I'm gonna get back to writing. So far I read through scene 1 again just to make sure I kind of still had Mickey's voice in my head, and then I also read through the original scene 2 in my original manuscript one more time just to make sure I knew what the plot line was for this scene. And now I'm in the middle of reading through my scene breakdown to make sure I remember all of the imagery and stuff that I want to include in this scene. And then I'm gonna start actually getting into writing. Oh wow. Yeah, so this is why these revisions are taking so long, but I like to think that it'll be worth it in the end. So I'm gonna get started or get back into it. I don't know. We're revisions, woo! Okay, hello. So I'm not sure if I am finished writing for the day, but I am finished filming myself writing for the day. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, I've been finished filming myself writing for a couple of hours now, but I had to take a break for lunch and then for therapy, so I just haven't been able to make this update until right now. But yeah, so my writing session went pretty well. I will admit I was still a little bit in my own head, but actually therapy really helped me. I think I'm going to have a lot easier time moving forward. Maybe. Oh, that's the fingers crossed, that's the hope. Because something me and my therapist discussed today was my sort of need for external validation from people. I like to make people proud of me. I like to impress people, but that's kind of to the detriment of, you know, my mental health and also the projects that I work on. Because to impress people, I feel this need to achieve perfection, and as we all know, perfection is unattainable. So then when I'm unable to reach said perfection, then I get disheartened, and then I start to procrastinate, and it just becomes like this cycle where I just get more and more down on myself about things. And I think that's definitely what was happening with this revision. I was so focused on wanting to write something that was just gonna knock the socks off these mentors, that was just gonna get me exactly the reaction that I wanted, where they weren't gonna have any notes for me at all, and they were gonna be like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever read. This should be published tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was so focused on that, again, unattainable dream, that I was so in my own head, and I was really stressing, and it was taking all of the fun out of writing, which is, I mean, I write because it's fun. So the conclusion that I came to with my therapist today was that really all that matters is if I'm happy with the final product. If the story that I end up with is something that I'm really proud of and excited about, then that's really all I can hope for, you know? And then if the mentors also enjoy it, if they think I did a good job with the revision, great, awesome. And if agents like what I wrote and I'm able to get an agent out of it, great, awesome. But I need to look inward for my validation. I need to make myself proud, and I mean, that's just the healthiest thing to do. So yeah, that's where I'm at mentally and emotionally right now, and obviously this was a newer revelation for me, so it's gonna take a while for me to incorporate it fully into my life, but it's a good start, and I'm already feeling like a little bit of a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, which is nice. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do more writing today or maybe some video editing. I guess it all just depends on when I stop recording, what I'm in the mood to do, but that's it for today as far as updates go, and I will see you guys, I don't know, next time I see you. Bye! Okay guys, so I just finished editing together all of the clips that I've gathered for this vlog so far, and it's getting pretty long, so I think we're going to call it here for this video, and we'll pick up again in another one. But before I close out this video, I wanted to do one more quick update where I explained a little bit better where I'm at headspace wise, because in my last clip, like, I kind of explained the revelation that I came to in therapy, but I explained it pretty badly and I ended up cutting a good chunk of it in editing because it just didn't come out the way I wanted it to, so second try's the charm. So in my last clip, I explained that I, in therapy, came to the revelation that I really seek external validation from other people to feel like I have accomplished something, and my revelation was that I need to seek internal validation from myself. And so what that means in terms of this project is just that I would like to have an end product that just makes me proud, that I am proud of. Because another thing that my therapist and I talked about in that same therapy session is that I work really hard at the things that I'm passionate about. I do not usually half-ass the things that I am passionate about. So I feel confident in seeking internal validation for this project because I know I'm not just going to be happy with a half-assed manuscript. I know that I am taking this seriously, that I am implementing pretty much all of the revision notes that I got from the mentors, plus I'm taking it the extra mile and I'm really working to incorporate imagery because I know that is a weakness of mine. So seeking internal validation in this sense is literally just, instead of shooting for the end goal of wanting to write something that really impresses the mentors, that makes them think I'm an amazing writer and that they can hardly find any fault with it all. Instead of shooting for that type of goal, all I need to do is write something that I am excited about and that I am proud of and that I feel is my best work, and that's all I can do. I can't control how the mentors are going to feel about my revisions. I can't control if literary agents are going to love or hate my book. You know, all I can do is write the best book that I can and feel proud of myself for doing so and feel content in the knowledge that I gave it everything I had. So hopefully that explains what I meant a little bit better. If it doesn't make sense to you, at least know it makes sense to me and that it has eased my anxiety about these revisions tenfold. So where I'm at now is I have finished revising scene 2 and I'm moving on to scene 3. Once I finish scene 3, that will mean I have chapter 1 revised. Oh my god. I hopefully will pick up the revision pace as I get better and better at this revision, but who knows? You know, at the end of the day, I am trying to make a very polished draft with this round of revisions in order to try and cut down on having to do multiple revisions. So if it takes a little bit longer, I mean, it's fine. It's probably taking the same amount of time that it would take to do multiple revision passes, so whatever. But yeah, I'm actually about to start working on that right now. So I am going to end this video here, and when we pick up next time, I will be working on scene 3. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying coming along on my revision journey with me. It really is an experience so far, and I haven't even gotten to the meat of the revisions yet, so I'm really excited to see where this revision takes me and how I feel further into the revision. Hopefully you're interested to learn those things too, so stick around, that's coming soon. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. In the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts about seeking internal versus external validation when it comes to your own projects. You know, do you find that you seek external validation, or are you really good at only seeking your own internal validation. I'm curious to know. Also, if you're in the process of revising either because you got into author mentor match or just because that's where you're at in your writing process, I'd love to hear about that, how it's going. I'd love to talk about our projects together. So again, in the comments if you want to chat about that. And finally, I hope you have a beautiful day and I'll see you next time. Bye!